What's up, everybody? Welcome to my Week 6 NFL cash game review, where I will go over the lineup and the process and the results of my Week 6 cash game lineup on DraftKings. This was another down week, my third losing week of the season. You hate to see it. So I'll put the lineup up right here. So we finished with 114.3 points. That was good enough to win only 10.8% of my head-to-head, 0 of 16 double-ups, about negative 87.4% ROI. So mistakes were made, to say the least. A little bit tilted, heavily tilted about certain aspects. Others I think are pretty easy to stomach because I think it's more of just really bad variance. But we'll go over this entire lineup right here. One of the few things that I will say was absolutely not a mistake was playing Deshaun Watson. It was really only between Watson and Lamar Jackson for me this week. Either one would have worked out. Either one would have given you over 30 points at quarterback. Some people went up to Mahomes. I didn't think there was enough room to do that. And, Matt Ryan was also a great play, and I'm pretty sure it also put up over 30 points. So there weren't too many paths to failing at quarterback this week, so I won't spend too much time on it. Watson was just short of the 300-yard bonus, 20 yards short, and short of a couple touchdowns as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to Will Fuller. Two other key pieces of this lineup to me are the two Rams. So I played Malcolm Brown and Cooper Kupp, both in this cash game lineup. First, Malcolm Brown, who finished with but 40 rushing yards. There was a report before the game, I saw it on Roto World especially, where they talked about, Malcolm Brown was going to have a feature role and they would mix Henderson in. We got the Gurley news early in the week, so Malcolm Brown being chalky was no surprise. Honestly, I thought he would be a little bit, chalkier than he was. 54.6% owned in the $25 massive double up on DraftKings. I was definitely expecting, what with how early, especially we got the Gurley news, that he would be upwards of 75% owned in cash games. He was bad chalk to me, but, having him projected to be so highly owned in almost every cash lineup, he was a scary fade to me, especially with the potential touchdown upside I thought he had in this spot. I don't regret playing him. I think that, if there had been other options, it would have been nice. I would have loved to get the DJ news and be able to play Chase Edmonds. That being said, David Johnson played and actually had a pretty decent game. So, that was clearly not in play. I liked Carlos Hyde early in the week. I thought the Texans would have a, pretty decent shot to just run the ball on this terrible Chiefs, rushing defense. But, I didn't really have the stones to go there in cash. I didn't really consider it in cash, and there was really nothing else, I think, that allowed me to get in the guys that I prioritized, this week. And one of them was Cooper Kupp, who came into the week, leading the NFL in targets. He faced the San Francisco team coming off of a short week, coming off of a Monday night game. And Cooper Kupp's just his market share, his red zone usage, everything lined up to me, just putting him in a great spot. More people played DeAndre Hopkins in cash, and I thought that was a little bit, crazy when you could get an equal and comparable floor-ceiling combo in Will Fuller for cheaper, and Cooper Kupp was cheaper than Hopkins, and just to me was an absolute smash play. Now, both of these Rams, Brown and Cooper, and any other Rams that you considered for cash, I thought Woods was a good play as well. Everybody busted. This was the worst offensive output that the Rams have really demonstrated, since McVay and Goff have been together, since Goff has been a pro. Only 78 yards passing by Goff. So really there was no hope for this offense to be productive. Yeah, Cooper Kupp still led the team in targets with 6, but he averaged 4.25 yards per reception, only had 4 catches, 17 yards, and 5.7 points. And sort of a larger point that I want to touch on, I never like, having such a high percentage of my salary behind a wide receiver. I think that ultimately that was the biggest mistake I made in this cash lineup. Now, I think it was also slate specific. Had players like McCaffrey or Barkley, been on the slate, I think it would have been the right move to pay up there instead of at wide receiver. I never like to pay up at wide receiver. There's too much variance compared to the high volume touches of a running back. Also on this slate, I thought Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, even Chris Carson were great plays, workload plays, and all of them were under 7K. So I think that specifically on this slate, it was justifiable to spend more at wide receiver. But in the future, I think that, if the highest priced, player in your cash game lineup is a wide receiver, as it was this week with me having Cooper Kupp at 7.1K as my most expensive player, I don't think that's an optimal way to go about building your cash lineups. I briefly touched on Leonard Fournette there for a second, and he put up 17.8 points. Didn't quite 3X, but, I'm not really upset with that in a day that the Jags only put up 6 points. Fournette's volume and just constantly being involved in this offense, got him there to have a good floor game at 17.8 points, 6 receptions, got him there. I'm not worried about that point. Where things really take a turn for the worse for me is it Tyler Boyd. Boyd to me was a top tier play. If you watch my cash tiers video, him and Cooper Kupp to me were priority plays. They were the number one plays for me at wide receiver on the slate. And Tyler Boyd, Tyler Boyd. Only 3 receptions for 10 yards. Got shadowed and shut down by Marlon Humphrey. That I did not see coming. The Ravens had gotten absolutely lit up in the slot up to this point. And, the Bengals are a bad team. This game was not as close as you would expect it to be. If you look at, the score, it was 23-17. The Bengals did not play a close game here. They were absolutely horrible, especially on offense. It was just so bad. And Tyler Boyd just absolutely crushed me. He crushed my cash lineup. He crushed my GPP lineup. And, it's a little bit funny because a lot of people made quite a bit about Tyler Lockett being a virgin this week. That came out, for religious reasons. He's waiting for marriage to partake in sex. I kind of wish that Tyler Boyd would follow that mantra as well. But Boyd, oh no, he is no virgin. And I know that well because he fucked me real good this week. Real good. But hey, I'm not tilting. I'm not tilting. Wow. That never has anybody sounded more tilted when they said that they weren't tilting. That's tough. Kupp and Boyd both busted, but Will Fuller, who also did not get there, only 5 for 44 at a 6K salary. This one did not bother me nearly as much because, despite, some people thinking Will Fuller was a fish play, was chasing points after his 50 burger last week. I did not view it that way. I thought that he was in another great matchup. I didn't think 6K was expensive enough for him. I thought that he was still a value in terms of, the ceiling he offered and having a high floor in this scoring environment. Now, at 6K, obviously, you're looking for more than 5 for 44, but he had 9 targets, which was the most of the season besides last week when he had 16, but it was more than any of the other weeks that he had played. And, also, 3 of the 4 targets that he didn't catch were easy touchdowns. You can watch it. Somebody put a video up on Twitter. I know Levitan retweeted it, as well as myself. Will Fuller, 2 easy touchdowns and a third that should have been a touchdown. Will Fuller could have had another monster day. I thought that he was pretty easily going to hit at least 18 points, especially if you told me that Hopkins didn't really produce for, another straight week. Will Fuller to me is definitely more of a negative results play than a negative process play. So I'm not too beat up about that one the same way that I am with Boyd. Austin Hooper was one of the bright spots of this depressing lineup, but he was 65% owned. So it doesn't matter that he put up 28.7 points and continues to be a dominant tight end that is wildly underpriced. I think he got a $300 boost going into week 7. So he's going to be wildly popular yet again next week. But, 8 receptions, 117 yards, got a touchdown, got the receiving bonus. Monster play, but it really didn't help that much at such high ownership. And Le'Veon Bell is another piece that really tilted me because, coming into this game, he was averaging 8 targets per game. I thought that he got a boost because of Darnold coming back, that the offense in general would be better, which it was. And the Jets ended up winning this game. All of that bodes well for Le'Veon Bell, and yet he finishes with 1 target, 7 less than his season average for 1 reception and 3 yards. Second worst game of the year, 12.3 points. Just insane to me that the offense starts clicking for the first time basically since week 1, and Le'Veon Bell finishes with 12.3 points. Wildly tilting. Some people were surprised that he was so highly owned. If you look at the $25 single entry double up on DraftKings, the largest one, he was 64.7%. That's not shocking to me. He was the best play on the board at running back, and I think that was obvious, and I think a lot of people realized that. Le'Veon Bell, again, it didn't hurt too badly because everybody really had him, but just hard to stomach this week because a lot of these plays were really good plays and they just did not hit whatsoever. And finally, the Jets defense, 48% owned, which is massive for a cash game defense. And it makes sense. They got dropped below 2K, well below 2K. They were only 1.5 thousand on DraftKings, and they won the game and finished with 1 point. Now, some people might think that was a bad play. I disagree. I think that, if DraftKings continues to price defenses below 2,000, you just have to play them because, they only got 1 point, but 1 point is in the range of outcome of many defenses and many more expensive defenses. And all it takes is one nice play and you're 6Xing. It's very easy, I think, to embrace variance at defense, and it frees up a lot of salary to spend at other positions. So, it didn't work out punting at defense, playing 1.5K, but that's okay. I think that, it's still a strategy to target in cash games going forward. But that's really it in terms of this cash game lineup review. It sucks. I played 5 weeks heavily. I wasn't able to play in, I think it was week 3. So I've won 2 weeks, lost 3 weeks, and we're going to even this out next week. We're going to come back hard and slam this week 7 slate and really just knock it out of the park. I'm going to really reevaluate the process a little bit, I think, and just try and figure out where I've been leaking, in this up to this point. So, thanks for watching and sticking with it. I hope that you guys didn't play Tyler Boyd. He wasn't that highly owned, so I think I was one of the few people on this train. I'll be back on Thursday to drop another Cash Tiers video. We're going to get some things right, hit on quarterback, hit on tight end, running back, not so much, wide receiver, definitely not having Coop and Boyd as my 2 priority plays for cash games. So we're going to work on that and get that straightened out next week. That video will be out Thursday, and I will see you guys next Monday as well to review what will hopefully be a much better cash lineup with much better results. Thanks for watching, guys.